Welcome back to another episode of the Cover 2 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Lawson Turner, and we officially have our finals matchup. The Dallas Mavericks defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves 4-1 in the Western Conference Finals as Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving combined for 72 points last night in their 124-103 win. And this game, to me, if you remember in the 2021 finals, the only other time Luka has ever made it this far in the postseason, in round two against the Suns, they were down 3-2. Then they win Game 6 at home, and then Luka just goes crazy in Game 7 and beat the Suns essentially in the first half. Luka started this game like, this is my moment, this is my game, and we're not going home. He said after game 4, he didn't come out and set the tone, come out with enough energy, and we saw in the first quarter there was no lack of energy, shot taking or shot making. Just in the first quarter, 20 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. He was 8 for 11 and 4 for 6 from 3, and was hitting a lot of just deep pull-up jump shots. And when Luka sees it go in early, you're in for a long day. It damn near doesn't matter the defender you put on him. It's a hope he misses. And he was fantastic. He ended the game with 36 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists as Dallas goes on to win. Kyrie Irving, I expected Kyrie to bounce back and not do what Luka did, but scoring wise, he put up the exact same amount of points as Luka, 36 points, which is fantastic. And like I mentioned in last video, I thought that Kyrie would be the older guy, like, okay, here's what needs to happen in order for us to close this game out, and let's go close it out. But Dallas won it more than Minnesota just didn't show up. Anthony Edwards was, I thought, good. I thought Karl-Anthony Towns played, from a numbers standpoint, his arguably, other than last game, his best game of the entire series. But he's inefficient again, 9 for 21 for 6 from 3. And there's some things we gotta, when it comes off-season time, there's going to be some conversations about Minnesota. What do you do with Cat? You're not going to get the value that you sent Rudy Gobert out for. You built a team to beat Denver, in which you did, but is it the best team to win a championship with? I tweeted out last night on the podcast Twitter that when you have Rudy Gobert in your championship contending team, in the regular season you're going to have a good defense. In the regular season you're going to have a really good defense due to for all his lack of for everything that's wrong with him come postseason time. In the regular season, he's fantastic on the defensive end of the floor. He defends the rim at a high level. He rebounds at a above average level. Now, last night, 9 points, 5 rebounds was a very, very subpar game, and we saw Dallas get whatever they wanted whenever they wanted. And Derek Lively came back, and I thought he was fantastic. 9 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 blocks. He was fantastic. PJ Washington, a good bounce back game. I thought he played exceptional on the defensive end of the floor, still making it tough for. Now, even though Ant was very efficient at 10 of 18, it wasn't. They don't ask PJ to guard him. They ask him to guard Cat. And he forced Cat once again into being very inefficient from the floor and especially from 3. I thought Daniel Gafford was all. These two centers, they were talking about on the broadcast that you don't really have, when you're Derek Lively and or Daniel Gafford, you don't have to worry about foul trouble necessarily because you're gonna play half the game anyways. When you come out, when Daniel Gafford comes out, Lively's coming in. When Lively comes out, Daniel Gafford goes in. It's not rocket science. So Dallas is giving these centers so much rope to play with. They're saying, hey, go out there, give it 112%. Even if you get into foul trouble, they are still happy with the production that their center position is getting. They're setting good screens. They are lob threats. They're great on the inside. They they defend the rim at an extremely high level. Like those two bigs, and I don't know how well they match up with how if Porzingis can come back with Boston. But against Minnesota, it was just a bad matchup for Minnesota. For as good of a defensive team as Minnesota is, and was this whole season, when you encounter one of these top five, top three players in the world, or one of the best, two of the best shot takers and makers in the entire NBA, you can make it as tough as you want. Sometimes it just doesn't matter. And last night and for the entire series, it felt like it just doesn't matter. Because Minnesota led in massive chunks of the series. But one team has Luka and the other team does not. One team has that. Luka's been building and building and building confidence since he played in the European League at 16. Like, you don't have to worry about Luka's confidence. And the second he thrives in these away games where fans are screaming and talking shit, and then he's yelling back at him, "Who's crying now?" And it's awesome to watch. It's awesome to see when we have these all-time great players come out, set the tone, talk their shit, and back it up. It's awesome. It's fun because we all love that. But let's dive into these two Luka stats I want to bring up. Well, one total before we go deeper into this game. For the series, on just pure step back jumpers, step back jump shots, Luka was 18 to 34. That's 52.9%. That's against Jaden McDaniels, really long defender. That's on Anthony Edwards, really good defender. Like, his ability to get whatever shot he wants is damn near second to none. And just from three, he was 10 of out of those 34 shots, 19 of them were threes, and he made 10 of them. That's 52.6%. Like, if you're shooting 53% on step back jump shots and 53% from three on step back threes, just tip your cap and just get out the way. Cause he is there's nothing there's almost as if there's nothing you can do. He doesn't play with the same explosiveness from an athletic standpoint, but it's like a younger LeBron when there's just nothing you can do. There's just nothing you can do. Because if you play Luka straight up, he's going to get to his spot, or, worst case scenario, hit a step back three in which he's shooting 53% from. So it amazes me as to that Minnesota in game 4 it looked like they were blitzing him heavy and he was really inefficient. And then in game 4 they were blitzing him, but then they went away from it. I knew that this game was going to get out of hand early. Not that they were up 16 at the first quarter. When Rudy Gobert is your leading shot taker through the first quarter, it's like, okay, whatever game plan you changed, because whenever Ant and Rudy would do a pick and roll, not saying Luka's guarding Ant, but they would somehow, well, not somehow, Minnesota would get Luka switched on to Rudy, and Luka got a steal last game, switched on, but then they dump it into Rudy, and Rudy doesn't have an offensive game. So, like, yes, in theory, it's a mismatch. You're getting their best player, but their 6'7" to 6'9" best player in Luka. Sorry, I'm tongue twister. Switched on to Rudy in the paint, but Rudy doesn't have an offensive game. Like 9 points on 8 shots. He was 4 of 8. I don't know. it amazes me as to you can force a small on a big all you want, but if that big doesn't have a post game or any offensive game, period, there's no it that possession is irrelevant. Because even if they dump it into Rudy every time on Luka, every time that there's a switch, do we really expect Rudy to shoot a high percent? Now, it's a high percentage shot because he's around the rim. But on the offensive end, I don't think Rudy knows what the hell he's doing anyways. Because there's just so many shots around the rim when Luka switched onto him, when he has a smaller, player on him. And like Rudy, we know what you hang your hat on. It's the defensive end. But this whenever you have Rudy Gobert on your team, and your hopes are championship, and you run into a ball dominant point guard who's gonna not matchup hunt, but he will play Rudy off the floor because they're just gonna bring him into the action, and unless you blitz that pick and roll, in which Derek Lively has been fantastic in the 4-on-3 on the backside, he's been fantastic, but you this was not going to be a series for me in which Rudy Gobert was going to make a big impact. It just flatly wasn't. It wasn't. Now let's dive into some other team stats. Dallas shot 54.8, round up 55% from the floor against the number one defense in the whole regular season and all year. They're fantastic. They won the percentage battle. They won the threes by 15 points. They lost the turnover battle, but won points off turnovers. They won the paint battle. They were tied for free throw makes. The only battle that they didn't win was the offensive rebound battle and second chance points. Excuse me. That's it. Flatly, that's it. They won the total rebounding battle as well. But let's dive into the four runs that kind of put this game, to rest. From the 11:28 mark in the first quarter, set the tone. From the 11:28 mark to the 9:05 mark, Dallas goes on a 14-4 run. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna need an explosive play. Let's get the crowd going. Let's do something. But then from the 5:25 mark in the first quarter to the 8:52 mark in the second quarter, 28-5. And Dallas is just getting and making whatever they want. And then from the 4:03 mark in the second quarter to the 7:54 mark in the third, they go on a 30-10 run and expand the lead to 36. And at that point, that was all she wrote. And this series, it didn't prove anything to me. Nothing that I didn't already know. That Luka and or Kyrie was going to play Rudy off the floor. And there were times and stretches where Rudy looked hopeless. We saw in his game winner in game 2. Luka said, everyone ball, get the hell out of the way, and we're going to force the switch, and I'm going to make Rudy dance. That's what he did. That's what he did for most of the series. This was Luka's not coming out party, because to me, I already know what he is. He's a fantastic top 3, top 5 player in the world right now. But it's one of those you can have as good of a defense as you want. If one team makes and your team misses, you're in a heap of trouble. Dallas just had more shot makers, and there's nothing wrong with it. Minnesota got as far as they could. They even got past the defending champs. But Minnesota's going home, and Dallas is going to Boston. Game 1 of the NBA Finals is next Thursday. I am super excited to. This finals should be awesome. I'm gonna have a finals preview coming out sometime next week. Until then, we're gonna be going back and just talking about some NBA teams, and we're going to go back to the NFL, and it should be a fantastic time leading up to the NBA Finals. Well, that's all I have for you guys in this episode of the Cover 2 Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at the Cover 2 Pod 26. Link will also be in the description to make it a little bit easier to find. As always, thank you so much for watching for the Cover 2 Podcast. I'm Lawson Turner, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.